Okay, we are live on Facebook and we are recording. I am John Mercer, president of the Las Vegas Triathlon Club, and I've got Bob Gamble as co-host of this member spotlight. In this case, we're going to do a coach spotlight. And tonight our coach is Dax Timbol, and I'm going to give a brief introduction. Then I know Bob's got a more complete introduction. But Dax, I actually can't remember when we first met, but I know I heard there's this guy who's starting this coaching science center, and you got to meet him, is what someone told me. I said, oh, I gotta talk with this guy. And I reached out to you, and right away, you and I connected on many different levels really quickly. And I came over and visited your shop, Viatality, and I just loved everything that you were talking about in terms of the science, the measurement, working with athletes on that objective part, but then also not losing sight that there's a subjectiveness and an artwork to coaching, and talking with people and keeping them motivated. And so I've enjoyed talking with you, prior to this, and I know I'm going to enjoy talking tonight. So thanks for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to Bob to get us kicked off.
Well, welcome, Dax. And before we get started, how's dad life treating you? How's Leonie?
It's a lot of work, but it's amazing. You know, it's all worth it. I see my wife; she's right there right now with the baby. I was just telling John a while ago. We just gave her a bath and get her settled. She got her milk, so if the baby and crying, indulge.
I just gotta say, it warms my heart to see the pictures of you and Leonie. I mean, it's just. It's amazing, how the connection that you've got there, and it's beautiful. And I don't know how that's going to affect your coaching or not, but I'm sure you're going to do both exceptionally well. In the interest of full disclosure, Dax coached me for a couple of months, so I'm a little bit biased. Dax did wonders for me. So not that our other coaches aren't equally good, and but I just as I said, Dax gave me about 15 seconds per 100 on my swim pace, and just an unheard of 2 or 3 miles an hour on my bike pace, and things were going really well until I hurt myself. So, but with that being said, I mean, Dax has got a wonderful, as John said, Dax has a wonderful facility, not only coaching, but he does. And I'm going to let you talk about what you do as far as with your physical therapy and your recovery. You cover so many aspects of coaching, from upfront to follow on to, you do data. And this is like, John's going to talk to you about the data, but, and I also understand you've got a new facility. So for everybody else who's out here, why don't you, if you would, tell us about your new facility. Tell us about what all you have in there, and what your coaching philosophy, and what you offer the athletes that you coach.
Yeah, so talking about the facility, we transferred to a bigger place, and working side by side now with the Good Shepherd Physical Therapy practice. So it again validates what we're trying to do, and what the objective is always just to take care of people, not to hurt themselves, doing what they love to do, and even just average Joes, not athletes, just make them more conscious on how to take care of their body, to just go on moving forward with the daily grind and surviving it without any injuries, because there's just a bunch of stuff that actually it's more on the side of it's just daily stuff, but they still get hurt, like just picking up something from the floor and all those kind of stuff. And going further, so we wanted to just really validate the practice of Vitality for sports performance and recovery by adding and partnering with a physical therapy practice. So the new address now is 6070 South Fort Apache Way, 89148. It's more closer to Southern Hills Hospital. So it's there on the Facebook, and then for people, they could just direct message me for more specific direction.
There's a group that you work with. It's a physical therapy or an actual doctor. Is there a chiropractor or something there with your group?
It's just basically a physical therapy practice. They also have practice for respiratory therapy also. That is part of their practice.
Okay, John, what you had some real technical questions as far as you're the exercise physiologist with the PhD. So there were some things that you wanted to talk about, especially the metrics and the data that you collect at Dax. Before we go there, though, what all kind of athletes do you coach? Do you coach only elites? Do you coach us age groupers as well and beginners? And who do you like to coach?
I basically coach all walks of life. My youngest right now is a 6-year-old, and then my oldest.
That would be me, right?
Yeah, that was Bob before, and then I have a lady also that is 63 years old. So I have athletes that are wanting to go to Kona that I'm trying to help out, and I have athletes that has family, and just average people that have 8-hour job business. So I would say it all walks of life. You were asking me who are the like athletes that I like to coach. I would say actually I like all that different elements of coaching different ages, and because you learn from them too. Like I always say, I have this mindset that if I encounter one person, I need to learn a thing or two so I could apply it to something else in the future. So I'm always open, but you were talking about my philosophy of coaching. I have a very, very conservative way of coaching. I would not lie that, or I would not, I will be proud to say that I follow the Mark Allen way, the Phil Maffetone way, especially because most of my athletes, these are people that has family, and it just bums you when they get hurt. Our sports is very selfish for one, right? Because we train alone, and we on our own, we're away with our family, and if they get hurt, it doesn't end on your own. It's not just by yourself. Your wife, your kids, they're gonna be affected because you get injured, you're losing time with them, with work too. So I chose to really be conservative, and that's why I want my athletes to be more of in the longevity side rather than just okay, they'll be fast in the coach and afterwards hurting. So so that's basically the athletes that I coach. I'm very open as long as they're okay with my style and my philosophy of coaching. Then for sure we're gonna create results. But with my way of coaching, I just need to say that it really would take patience, because the results will come. They come in a different way too. They will come in a different time, but it's guaranteed that they will come. Everybody's different, so the reaction is always different too. So if people will come to me, I actually a few days ago, there's athletes that were trying to talk to me, and I said I couldn't coach them because they wanted, they wanted numbers that I may not be the person that can deliver it in 6 months. So I'm not. I was very polite to say that I might not be the one that they're looking for to achieve their goal in 6 months.
Yeah, it's like if you want to go from zero to to an Ironman, and I've got 3 weeks to do it, so here, get me ready. That's just not feasible. So I appreciate the fact that you have that kind of patience, and you did talk to me about long term. And just to clarify for everybody who's listening, I brought an injury to Dax. It wasn't caused by his training in any sense of the word. I came to Dax with a because I had a foot that I could not get healed. And and we worked on it, and it's ultimately it's better, and I'm getting ready to fire that up again. But I like your holistic approach. That was, it's not going to come overnight. You're going to build things up slowly. the better you build them up, and with the base, and the better you build it up slowly, the higher you're going to reach in the long run. And you're also, you can't get better when you're injured, and you take a big, you put a lot of priority in keeping people healthy. And I appreciate that. You know, that's something that was really valuable that I appreciated about what I learned about your coaching.
Yeah, and I'll jump in on that because that's a great place to talk about. Dax, I know you do a lot of measurement and you do a lot of work with recovery, and so you have a nice facility. So maybe talk about some of the measurements you do, maybe when you start an athlete, or maybe as you are working with an athlete, you know, what type of tests you would do or what type of data you would collect to evaluate them.
Yeah, right there in the facility right now, we have the VO2 testing. We are blessed enough to have a testing equipment that can track training heart rate zones, your calorie burning every hour on those specific training zones, and it could also do your resting metabolic rate. Another equipment that we have is the running gait analysis. So it's I think I would not give justice to what that equipment would do. I would love to invite everybody to just go check it out, because while you're running, it's right there in real time. You'll see your numbers. Your running is being broken down into different aspects, like how's your loading on the right side, loading on the left side. So your flex extension on your knees, your hips, and so on and so forth. We could go. I mean, John, you saw it. Like, you guys actually wanted to do some studies because the datas are like just endless that can be used by any athletes that would want to. Also, I would also want to mention because I have a medical director, I'm so blessed to be partnered with a doctor, which is very fascinated with the things that we do. That's why he decided to support me more than 100%. And Dr. Calderon's testing is, if I do like cellular baselines, he would do atomic baselines. Because of this facility, he also subjected himself to be a obesity doctor certified, and from that point, I learned a lot from his studies, advising me. You know, when you reach to a point where you're a little bit dead end, and then it's so nice to have a doctor that you can talk and present some data to him to apply his knowledge. So that's what we've been doing there.
Oh, that's fantastic. And, you know, yeah, you've talked about the VO2 system, your gait analysis system. I mean, those are really sophisticated tools to use. But I'm curious, have you ever recorded some data points, but then your coach's eye tells you something other than what the data are telling you?
Oh my God, dude. So it's nice to have the data, right, in numbers, but you'll be amazed. Like, example, I had somebody that I put there, and John, her heart rate was just like 190 while she's talking to me, you know, running at like 6.5 mile pace, and she was talking to me, and I was like ready to pull the plug, you know, like, and then she just said, "Oh, I'm always like that." And then here comes an athlete that is he's already running like 8.5 pace on the treadmill, but the heart rate is just 130, 125, and you're like wondering what's going on. So from what you were saying is like that shocks you, right? And that opens different horizons on how you deal with athletes like that. So now it motivates me to go back to the drawing board, find out how to, like, you know, basically coach those kind of athletes if they chose, you know, in the future, an athlete like that would approach you. So it's like I said, I always learn something from the person that I encounter with. May they be just there, may they be just, you know, they're my athletes. I always pick up a lot of stuff, and it's probably the first time that they would hear this. So, and they don't even know that I'm gathering all this data from different aspects, and sometimes I don't have the knowledge to apply on that specific data yet, but it just motivates me to go, you know, okay, you gotta go back to the drawing board, you know, email some old coaches, email some friends, and we are so blessed here in Vegas that we have different kind of coaches that are open. Like I don't shy away to talk to like Nancy. I don't shy away to talk to Max. Even Luigi. And there's other coaches like Tamara for sure. Astrid and Steph. It's nice to work with different coaches because we will have something that we think, okay, we figured things out until you come across one thing again, and it opens the chance to learn. So that's how I take it.
If I can jump in here a minute, John, that's one thing that I was real impressed with, the fact that you have a synergy between the coaches. You're not competitors. You actually work together to help your different athletes build strength, and you can refer your athletes to other coaches and vice versa. It's really wonderful seeing everybody working together instead of competing with each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I can add something. You really got to accept that you cannot be just, you cannot provide everything. Like I will be strong in one point, but still learning on one point. And I know my weakness, and I do not try to it's not hard for me to accept that there's a person right now, instead of me learning this, let me just point you to this person and that could help you on those specific stuff. And I think that's why I don't intend to compete. And when me and John talked first and he was asking me about things, I want all the coaches to check the facility. They could use it to improve their athletes. The testings, it's very available nowadays. Before, it's very limited. It's so hard to get access with this kind of stuff. And now that we have it, I want coaches to go in, and bring their athletes. I would just set up everything, help them out, and the place could be their place for the moment that they needed it. And I think that's, for me, that's, because it takes a village to really progress one athlete to a different level. And I'm not afraid to say that this thing is not my expertise. So you got to go see this guy. And I think if you really is sincere to really bring your athlete to a different level, you got to be open with things that you can't do yet. So in the future, you'll be able to do it too.
That's wonderful. And we may be going down a dangerous road here. There may be an opportunity for a coaching co-op, the Las Vegas Triathlon Club coaching co-op, where it's like everybody works together. I mean, it's just, you got a wonderful facility.
Thank you.
There's one other thing. Did you want to add anything on that, John?
I think that this is something that I know Dax does, and does a great job of building community. And he already threw out the phrase, it takes a village. And I've heard him say that several times, is that, you're trying to build a community and of athletes and coaches and what have you, but sort of maybe just talk about what it's like to build a community, or how you go about building a community of your athletes and any of the coaches that you work with.
To be honest, I don't even know how it gets bigger like that. I make if I know something and I can help somebody and that person is right there in front of me, I'm not going to shy away, So I think I never really ambitioned to build a community, but it's just happening. I think that's what's happening, because it's more stable when it's organic, all these people, you just try to open up your doors to everybody, and the next thing you knew, you got a bunch of people like-minded, all A personalities, bantering here and there, so sometimes it entertains me, but at the end of the day, everybody has a different goal, but everybody recognizes that to reach their goal, they need to be open, and be part of community. So I guess that's just the best that I could answer that question. That's the best way that I could answer that question, because I never really ambitioned. It's just happening. I asked John, hey, you need help? We're gonna be there. So I think it's more on teaching the the values of paying it forward. So
Mhm.
my athletes, we talk a lot. We talk beyond the sports and everything. So you build a network unintentionally, and then it becomes a community. So and they see that if they see that you're at times you'll be able to put your ego in your back pocket and just put yourself to the side and be part of something of somebody else's journey for that moment. It just builds the community, I guess. So I don't even know.
Well, we're all stronger when we do that. And you've been a great supporter of the Tri Club and volunteering and getting other people to volunteer, and we're all stronger. And so that's really neat to see that approach, and I really respect that in you. I want to get back to your data though. So you collect these data points. I'm curious as to how you use those data with your athletes. Like, how much do you use the data for yourself to evaluate an athlete, and how much do you use the data to educate your athletes?
Yeah, that it's amazing because those data, I wish we had those 20 years ago. I wish we had those 30 years ago when I was just starting. Because I myself was an athlete at one time. I still do it. I just do it for fun. But because back in the days it was just you, and you see the other person train 2 hours and you want to beat him, you train 3 hours, right? So it's just okay. He's swimming an hour. I'll swim an hour and 30, and maybe I can beat him. So, with the data nowadays, it saves time, right? So, example, let's tackle the training heart rate zones, the exact training heart rate zones. You're pretty much gonna see at what heart rate the person is gonna fat burn, is gonna like switch to carb burning. So you can calculate at what heart rate he can sustain a 3 hour activity if you want them to build their base, because if your body switches to, like, example, from fat burning to sugar burning, the heart rate zones specific for the fat burn, and then it switches to the heart rate of sugar burning. You can tell them that you can only sustain this energy for so much because now you're gonna burn your glycogen deposit. So generally, they said if you're 150 pounds, you multiply that by 10, so you got a 1,500 glycogen deposit in your body, and then you'll see it on the specific heart rate zones. In an hour, you're burning 1,000 already. If you're gonna be on that heart rate zone, which you're gonna use for sugar as fuel. So now you could tell your athlete, if we're racing like a sprint, it's okay to be on that heart rate. You're racing maybe 2 hours, 2 hour 30 for an Olympic race. Maybe you could get away with it, but when you talk endurance, that's where everything changes. And most of my athletes, they're all like, they wanted 70.3, they wanted more than 2.5 to 3 hours activity. So the data itself, it's so hard to convince them that this is the heart rate that you should stay for now. The speed will come up, and Bob, you know that tremendously it's going to change, but you just need to be patient. So going back to the data, it's just amazing that we have this nowadays. And I would tell everybody, like, if you have a chance to get those exact data, it will save you time. It will save you resources. It will give you enough information about yourself, because the heart rate zones is a very I would say it's hit or miss, right? So we have a formula right now that is formulated generically, and is that still applicable for me if I've been training for 2 years already, or am I that same that on that age bracket, with lifestyle too, with your daily grind and your work and everything? It's just different. But if you have your tests and you test yourself, you would know what is good for you. You would know what is not good for you. So I'm just like, for me, sometimes when I test people, it still comes to my mind, like, I wish I had this 30 years ago. I could have saved my knees and my back. So I'm probably still going fast right now. But And that's my motivation too, is myself. I had never had this information before, and I was blessed to have a chance and the opportunity to have this kind of equipment to apply the direct science on the triathlon athletes alike.
Well, hey, let me jump in here for a second. I want to add something on to what Dax just said about the numbers. When Dax, when you gave me my fat burn and my anaerobic threshold numbers, I paid attention to them and then learned I could watch my heart rate, and it trained my perceived exertion, if that makes any sense. Like when I hit that 134 that you gave me, 134, up to 134, my mouth's closed and I'm breathing through my nose, and I can sustain that for a long time. And I go over it by 2 beats per minute, and I have to breathe through my mouth. And it's like the numbers are right. They're accurate. And it's really amazing. So, yeah, go ahead. But like I said, I just wanted to add on and say, yes, it's really wonderful having those kind of numbers and what it does for you.
Yeah, and I really like how, Dax, you approach it with using the numbers, but then also using your coach's eye to try to work with the athlete. But you mentioned something. I want to dive into this a little bit. You have a triathlon background yourself. I want to hear your first triathlon, and when did you do it and where?
I did it. I think that was early 90s. It was a 70.3 distance in the Philippines, and I did not know I didn't know what 70.3 means. I mean, I was a swimmer. Okay, so my background is swimming. I swim for my school, and my friends and my teammates were talking about triathlons, and they asked me if I have a bike. I said, yeah, I can grab a bike. My uncle rides. They go like, what are you doing on Saturday? I said, oh, nothing. They go like, hey, you want to do a triathlon? I said, okay, I know that, swim, bike, run, right? They go like, yeah. So I went to that, and I think we were only 60 participants, because it wasn't as popular back then, back home. And I swim good, and bike was okay, but I wasn't a runner because I was made to be like this, swimming all the time. So I was never on my feet. And oh my God, I think I finished it 8 hours, and I was cramping from mile 3 to mile 13. I was just cramping and cursing my friends. And for 2 years, I hated them. I hated triathlons. And then one of my friends says, dude, there's gonna be a triathlon series, but they will be more shorter. And then that's where I researched. That's where I actually I have an auntie that lives here in the States, and we were talking about like, okay, do you want a helmet? You gotta have this. And I said, buy me a book that I could read. So she sent me a Mark Allen book, and I read the book, and then okay, this is how you do it, right? So, but you know how Mark Allen's so conservative with numbers, right? And I'm young, and I was like, this is too slow, right? So that you have all this information, but you being young, it's just you just want to go. So, but at least I had the idea of what is a triathlon is. How do you prepare for it? So it was excruciatingly painful. That's just what I remember on my first one. And I was only 16 back then, 16 years old. And what do I know, right? So
that's awesome. But okay, so then you stuck with it. So what was it that caught your attention that you said, okay, I gotta keep doing this?
It was just a challenge. It was just like how many crazy people that you would see will swim, and then we'll bike, and then we'll run, right? So it's funny because I still remember back home when we were doing this, there's always like a festival in one town, and there's a sporting events, and they will do it. Oh boy, when we were like running, you'll see all these people like gesturing like this. You guys are crazy, right? So I guess that motivates me more to like do it, because I guess, yeah, we're crazy, but I'm just gonna keep doing this. It's just the beauty of like pushing yourself to its limit. this is the sport where you could really find out more about yourself. That it made me realize I just felt like when I do it, I have the full control of my life, right? So whatever I chose to do, there's gonna be a reaction. It's either it's gonna be bad or it's gonna be good. So it made me more like it made me practice patience. When you're young, I don't think patience is right there on your vocabulary when you're
No.
so,
You got the patience of a lit firecracker when you're 16.
yeah, just go, and then until it's all fun and fun and dandy until like you're cramping already, or your back is hurting already. And like I said, back home, I mean, where I came from, it's third world. Information is not really available. Plus, you're only limited to the things that you see. Like like I said a while ago, if I want to beat that guy who's training 2 hours, I'm gonna train 3 hours.
And you're going to train hard for 3 hours too. You're not going to take it easy.
So you end up beating the guy for one race in one season because the rest of the season you're hurting. So, and when I moved here, I kind of like promised myself to, and just I need to find out what really went wrong with how my body just was broken down because I wasn't doing it the right way. Given I had a first coach that it is also an American coach. He used to play tennis, and then he switched to triathlons, and so he was my first coach back home in the Philippines. But it was late already. I was my MCL was already messed up. My ACL was already messed up. But he told me, when you move to the States, there's so much information that you could learn, and just embrace it. So that's what I did, because I have a younger brother that I influenced to do it, and I do not want to see him ending up like me. So I put myself to all these studies and research and everything. It's not even for myself. I was just worried about my brother because he's doing it, and I don't want him to end up like me, still hurting after the sports life. Like you give yourself more than 100%, and now I'm just you just move on with life, trying to make a living, and your knees are hurting. So because you didn't do it the right way. That's why I said the sport is so selfish. You really need to take care of yourself, because if you hurt yourself, it doesn't end just right there on the sport. You bring it out from the sport. That's why I'm not afraid to tell my client, you got to be patient, because if not, then I'm not going to be the coach for you. They don't see the accountability that you put when you try to teach people with the sport. I know they want to be fast, but they could be fast afterwards. They're hurting, and they take that away, like you're done with the sports already, but it still haunts you. Like me right now, there are days that I could run nice, but there are days that I can't. So I don't want these kids that I train. I have 6-year-old ending up like me. I don't want Bob re-injuring himself. It's just what's firing me up to be to put myself out there and tell people, this is not the thing that we are being paid for. We're paying for it. It's expensive. It's selfish, but I'm still gonna do it no matter what. So let's just do it the right way, right? So that's my story, basically.
I love your story, from racing yourself, but then being, support to your brother, and your brother's pretty fast too. So, so that's so neat that was your motivation to get into coaching, and then you've just sort of grown it out of that relationship with your brother.
My brother. It's funny because my brother will wake up in the pool when he was young. My brother will wake up at the back seat of my car, and I'll just throw him right there in the pool. He knows. Or when he moved here, I told him, I don't want to coach you, because I haven't seen him for 15 years, and he said, I still want to do it. And I said, I'm not gonna coach
No.
to. I just want us to move forward, brothers, for now, and then let's talk in the future. Because yeah, but we have a good relationship. The good thing about my brother is his work ethics is superb. When it comes to sport, if I tell him this is the number that I need, it doesn't matter what day it is, windy, sunny, whatever, he's gonna give me those numbers. And I think that's also the thing that I need to watch out for, is because, you know, I need to teach him. I'm trying to empower him to also, you know, have control. He needs to understand when to go and when not to go. You know, and it's hard because that's it. There will be days you're gonna wake up, you're sluggish. Maybe you're just lazy, or you're just really over. So I think he's doing well with that aspect. And here in the house, we're all we do the things. My wife does it. You know, my dad is very supportive. So we have the dynamics already. I'm also a chef, so you know, he doesn't need to worry about his food. He knows when I said it's time to eat clean. He already knows he's gonna eat
Yeah.
paper. Tastes like everything just tastes like paper. So he knows, and we're good. We're not that type of we argue. If I say it, because he trusts me, and I just tell him you don't want to end up like me, so he would just submit himself, and he understands it takes a lot of work too. So he has this big aspirations. We're very ambitious with numbers, but quietly ambitious. We just put the work, and then, you know, we get results. So whatever we do now, I always say whatever we do now, we're this 2020. I'm actually preparing him for 2021. So
There you go.
Even with my athlete partner alone, also it's you got to tell them that there's no shortcuts. And with your athletes, like you about me and my brother's dynamics, he understands. So I'm so blessed that he knows what it takes. He's young, you know, so he has plenty of mileage on those legs. So
Hey,
he just
Dax,
needs to take care of himself. He just needs.
While you're talking about your athletes and the numbers that you give them and they give you back, how do you communicate with them, with your athletes? What do you do? Do they record training peaks and send it to you, or how do you do that? How do you deal with that?
I would take an example with you. When I had you, you were suggesting this. What did I tell you? Nope, I'm gonna text you everything, and you need to text me back. It
Right.
just brings a different the relate. I mean, I could put everything on training pics, but I would not be able to talk to you.
So you're still
and
you're still doing that then? You're still going personal email, texting back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, I tried all those. Texting back and forth is really important. Communicating, even phone calls, I appreciate it. And I always tell my athletes, I tried all those systems like training peaks before and everything, but what athletes have because they're very they like being challenged. So you give them the numbers, they just like to move on to the next workout. They get that green light to go. You know, and me without the assessment of the daily interaction, I don't know if they're just surviving the numbers versus training the numbers, right? So you got to perform the numbers, not survive them. And without I guess for me, the best way to watch my athletes, if they're surviving them or really performing them and training them, is to communicate with them. Like I would always say, okay, how do you feel today? Sometimes they would, early in the morning, I would text them, okay, how do you feel? And they would tell me like a real-time feeling, a real-time answer of their feeling and situation. And I would just say, you know what, slip in. It's fine. It's okay to miss a workout. You force yourself to do those workouts. You're actually, the training effect will be low, and then the recovery time is so long. So you're going to miss the quality sessions that you need.
Right.
And I'm not against those that is on training peaks or whatever. I guess for me, since you guys are asking me, I think for me that's just the best way to communicate and analyze numbers. I tell workout, let me check, or I'm also asking, can I have an access to your Garmin Connect or your Strava so I could see? But the daily, constant, and weekly texting of their numbers, it's phenomenal for me. It works, you know. And uh,
I
if
know it
it's
works
just
for
not
me.
working, then I'll find. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
here's the deal: is I could talk with you all evening on
I
this.
know.
You are really an engaging person and engaging, very knowledgeable. But I said I'd keep you for about 30 minutes. We're well over that, and I really
oh
know
my
you're very generous with your time. And we haven't even gotten to the sushi chef part. So you're a fabulous sushi, but I think people should really go back and listen to this. You've given a lot of great advice to athletes, a lot of little tips, and it's good for any level athlete to go back and listen to some of the things you've talked about. And I even see Max wrote on there, perform them, not survive them in terms of workouts. And that's so important. But I want to try to close up with maybe just get your thoughts on how you define success as a coach.
I'm for me. It's like this, right? So I will give one example. I had a chance to coach a person that is just wanted to do the sport and wanted to have control at least part of his life, because he's imprisoned by the 8-hour job. Most of my athletes are they have 8-hour job, and this person has a business, right? So and I said, look, if you're coming to me to say you want to be number one, you want to be fast and everything, then we got to talk about hours. We got to talk about, you know, you really need to discuss it with them. You cannot avoid the family thing, right? Because I could bring an athlete and be the best in the world, but being served with a divorce paper at the finish line. So it doesn't make sense. So for me, to make them understand that this is an additional dynamic in their life, it's an additional positive dynamic in their life. It can become negative, but they need to understand that they need to focus more on adding a dynamic in their life that should be inculcated to the family, right? So I would say I'm successful if I see my athlete influencing the whole household to do it, or maybe even do it, but support it. You know, to see their family watching, that's amazing, right? But to see their kids doing it now, I don't have a word for it. It gives me goosebumps just talking about it, and because you're actually empowering them to make a legacy on their own. Like if the dad starts it, the kids will do it. The kids has a scholarship. Like how many young athletes here that one coach produced and got scholarship in college, right? Those. That's how I measure things. It's not the medal. My brother knows this. I told him, you're the fastest non-pro Filipino right now in the whole world. You could be the fastest, but people will only talk about that for a month. But if you see somebody and that person is struggling and you help them out, that's not gonna be forgotten. That person, you touch their lives, you know, you bring in the positive effect of the sport, whatever that is, to a household, then for me, that's beyond fulfillment, right? So that's why I keep doing this, John. And right now I have kids. I have a son, and I just had a little baby. So I'm currently coaching these little girls, and I'm like thinking, when my daughter is ready to do this, I was talking to Isabella, and I told Isabella, she's 8 years old, and I said, you're gonna be my daughter's coach, you know, and now you know the sport will not die, and now you know the sport has a positive effect to the household. You know, that's what moves me. That's what fires me up to keep doing this. Way beyond the compensation, way beyond the medals and everything. But if you bring somebody from zero to their Ironman, yeah, I don't think, no matter how the outcome is, no matter if you talk to them or you don't talk to them anymore, that cannot be taken away anymore. You know, you were part of their life at one moment in their life, and they're not gonna forget you. Same thing with me, with my coaches before, with my friends. I told you I hated them, but I'm so happy that, you know, they invited me to triathlon. You know, and that's why I'm here. I think putting a purpose to the sport uh, is more fulfilling than just the sport itself. I don't know if that even makes sense, but that's just the way I see it.
No, that is such a great perspective, and I really respect you for all that. And you've been such a great member in the community, and your philosophy and coaching is so grounded in family values, and you really bring that forward. And I've heard that tonight, and I hope others have heard it as well. So this has been great to talk with you. I always enjoy talking with you. It's great to have this on Facebook Live, and we've recorded it. We'll post it for people to watch as well. So, Dax, thanks so much for the time. Very generous,
Dax.
very gracious.
Wonderful talking to you again.
Thank you for having me, guys. And you know what I can do, so just let me know if you guys need help or whatever. John,
Absolutely.
July 1, you know I'll be there.
And you know what? You say things like that, and you mean it. And it really is. It is great to be able to rely on you and reach out for help. So, thank you. All right, I'm gonna log off of. Just hang on, Dax. I'm gonna stop the Facebook Live. Thanks everybody who was on watching. That was great. And I'm gonna say good evening to everyone there. And I'm gonna stop the live stream. And I'm gonna stop the recording.